Actually, what Balaji talks about is this like a vulnerability of your social network or your social graph and your close contacts actually to what periodicals or what media they consume regularly, like on a daily basis. That's like their single most important kind of like vulnerability. Because he gives an example of kind of neutral example of, let's say, Xinhua is like the Chinese news agency. If they're counseling someone in the US, the person actually might not feel it much, like he or she might not get visa into China when they're like kind of trying to, if they write some hate piece about him or her.
Yeah.
The person might not get the visas, but like his social graph, his social network, and his close friends are not affected by what Xinhua writes because they are not consuming it on a daily basis. And even if they see it, they don't trust that periodical because they might say it's like a CCP, it's influenced by the Chinese Communist Party, and they don't care what Xinhua writes, But if they write something about someone within China, actually those people really do care what the Xinhua thinks,
Hello, welcome back to Mtambo's This podcast. My name is Duke Mtambo, and the following is a conversation with Jakub Šimek, a co-founder of Wezesha DAO and an author of Wisdom Enterprising. In today's episode, I'll be talking with Jakub Šimek about his article, Social War, under the Daily Balajism series. And now, dear friends, here is Jakub Šimek. Jakub, thank you once again for joining me at Mtambo's This podcast.
Hi, Duke. I'm happy to be here talking to you.
In your article, Jakub, Balaj Sirvasan explains that the people with very different views live next to each other physically, but are separated into memetic tribes online. In your opinion, Jakub, how has social media divided people into memetic tribes?
Right. Hi, Duke. So, Balaji Srinivasan has this like nice, quite interesting like term, social war, meaning like social in terms of social media, and he says like that. I mean, there are like let's say. There could be like 20 memetic tribes or like 20 different ideological tribes in one apartment complex, like you live next to your neighbor, but actually you often even don't know them, don't know their views or something. But online you have these like filter bubbles, and these like people are actually separated, and he shows it, he tweets about it, and there is a graph actually that proves it, like if you look at least in the US, in the context of US, you have like a map of different constituencies, so they are like fractal, so you have, let's say, some counties or some cities could be like red or blue, meaning like Republican or Democrat, but then you have some districts within those cities that can be like, like the other color, it could be like a Republican state, but you have like a Democrat city, and let's say you can have various parts of the city that have different political leanings, and this is fractal even like to the level of like one apartment or something. So but in the digital sphere or in the noosphere, which is like a Pierre Taylor Deschardins concept, noosphere, he coined it like I think 100 years ago or something, like before the internet, but it's basically the sphere of the minds. So like on social media, we are more separated because we follow people with similar ideas, maybe Twitter sometimes it could be an exception in a way, but like no, but generally, we follow people who share our reviews. Or sometimes we unfriend some people like who are annoying or something. But this kind of in a macro, in a like a macro view, this kind of creates this segregation into these various memetic tribes or ideological tribes, which are actually quite quite distinct online. And Balaji proves it with another graph or another kind of like map where these social networks are divided. And so the social war, the victory condition, so you can't like you can't wage like a regular kind of war, like a civil war against like a different memetic tribe, because you would like hit your own people, like if you, let's say, bombed or something, some like if you like if you do like some like regular warfare, like with tanks, and you would like destroy your own people. That doesn't make any sense. Like to do some bombardments or something like that. So what do you do instead in the social war? It's like you try to change the node, like a node in the social network. You want to turn it, let's say, from red to blue or from blue to red. You want to kind of like basically either cancel those people or change their ideology, or kind of downrank them, silence them. And we saw it also in Twitter files. You want to like shadow ban like some viewpoints, and especially actually which is quite maybe counterintuitive or something, but you want to silence especially people who are like within your tribe, but who are like unorthodox or heterodox. So let's say Democrats who are like have heterodox views about let's say lockdowns. We saw it with that Stanford professor or something, like, or some, let's say, some liberals or Democrats who have like heterodox views on some policies that the current establishment pursues. So so it's like, basically you are trying to not you are trying, it's but usually people are like they're getting into this the downstream media, and like just regular people on online. There the best strategy for them is like the school of fish strategy. Is basically everybody's moving in the same direction at the same time, so no single one can be like singled out. No one can be singled out and like taken apart by some like predator or something. So it's like when everybody's saying it's about COVID, it's just the flu, because let's say Trump is he was really scared about like what he called the China virus at the beginning, so then the other side, the liberals, were saying it's just the flu. And then when he switched to saying it's just the flu, they were like very scared about it. But it's all like kind of school of fish kind of strategy, says Balaji. But what you want to be an independent thinker. You want to check the facts because you want to protect your family. If it's a serious threat, or if you are, I don't know, if you're living with old people or something, you want a reliable news. You want a reliable kind of sources, and you just don't want to, let's say, do some cheap value signaling or something, not value even, like, sorry, virtue signaling, cheap virtue signaling to a certain tribe, so memetic tribe. So that's like just social war is happening in the noosphere, like in the sphere of minds, and not in the sphere, in the geosphere, in the land. So it's that's
a great
short.
That's a great perspective. I agree. It has become easier for people to find like-minded individuals and form their own tribes. Balaji has a concept of a social supply chain that illustrates all our social connections of family, friends, frenemies, and work contacts. How do you think the concept of social supply chain can be used to understand cancel culture on social media?
So actually what Balaji talks about is this like a vulnerability of your social network, or your social graph, and your close contacts actually to what periodicals or what media they consume regularly, like on a daily basis. That's like their single most important kind of like vulnerability. Because he gives an example of kind of neutral example of, let's say, Xinhua is like the Chinese news agency. if they're canceling someone in the US, the person actually might not feel it much, like he or she might not get visa into China when they're like kind of trying to, if they write some hate piece about him or her.
Yeah.
The person might not get the visas, but like his social graph, his social network, and his close friends are not affected by what Xinhua writes because they are not consuming it on a daily basis. And even if they see it, they don't trust that periodical because they might say it's like a CCP, it's influenced by the Chinese Communist Party, and they don't care what Xinhua writes, But if they write something about someone within China, actually those people really do care what the Xinhua thinks, So it's like they take it really, really super seriously, and actually even like all these kind of cancellation and this language of cancellation is a bit infantile, says Balaji, because it's kind of derived from these purges during the communist times, let's say in China or in Soviet Russia, where actually if you want to purge someone, it starts also with like a negative press article, like with a hit piece by some I don't know, daily newspaper, Pravda, or I don't know, something like Xinhua, but then the person actually might get disappeared or something, so he's like canceled also in the physical world. And now this is more like abstracted, this cancellation. I don't know, the Andrew Tate is canceled for a month, and then he's I don't know, he has 20 passports, and he has different accounts with for Uber and different identities, so he even Uber cancels him, he manages to get an Uber with a different identity, and he's back in 2 months to troll Greta Thunberg, which is hilarious or boring, depends on how much time do you have for this infotainment. But it's not really the cancellation of let's say the Chinese regime today, or like in the previous, like Soviet Russia or something, where actually the Deng Xiaoping was like cancelled or purged 3 times, and actually his son ended up on a wheelchair because he was thrown out of the window during some of these one of these purges. So it's like really, it's a serious stuff, and it might actually come also into the physical world. So even the canceling online is serious, and even the Twitter files, the shadow banning, I mean, it's serious, but like people, but it's still true that it's a bit infantile, like talking about cancel culture compared to actually the real purges of, let's say, the communist times. So okay, if if Xinhua writes something about the person in China, some Chinese person, he or she actually might get really canceled, and he or she is really worried, and actually all her social network, I mean the social graph, all her close connections are really, really worried, and they just want to distance from that person because they don't want to get canceled with that person, along that person. Wow. And the truth is also vice versa. If NYT writes something about, let's say, some Chinese entrepreneur or something, they might not care that much, like, I mean, it's still kind of serious. I guess it might affect their business. Or imagine like let's say some Indian periodical, like Hindustan Times, or some like let's say totally like random other country periodical. If they write about you, and let's say you are based in Kenya or in Slovakia, you don't care that much. But if it's like, if the news that your relatives read regularly, if they write something negative about you, you care much more. So that's like, but the point is to have like a diversified social supply chain, and to choose your colleagues and your friends wisely, like, so in the times of this cancellation attempts or something, it's they stick with you, they don't betray you. That's important. And also, as we discussed before, and we will discuss also later as well, there is this concept of personal runway that Balaji has and it's also good like to have to be no, I'm not it's like okay, more financially stable, because what Balaji says, like the financial independence is upstream of ideological independence. So in a way, if you have let's say savings for a couple of months to survive without work, then you are more kind of secure. Like, so in terms of let's say if some cancellation comes and you need to find work again, or you need to change jobs or something, you are more secure and you are more open-minded, discuss your mind.
Yeah, I think not just only financial. You should not have a personal runway in your financial only, but also I also like to add also in your skills, or also in other ways, just like for example having several citizenships, just like Tet, you know, because if they can't,
crazy. That's a
yeah,
bit crazy, but yeah, it's true.
yeah, if they cancel you on this one, you know, you can pick your other passport and you know, you continue with life. So it's good to have maybe personal runway in every aspect of life, you know. Yeah, but yeah, Jakub, that's a great point, and I think it's important to understand the dynamics of cancel culture and how it affects individuals and their social connections. Balaji also mentions that it is important to build resilient social supply chain, meaning that you should choose your friends and colleague well. I think you mentioned that, and they shouldn't go south on your times. I mean, on you in times of beautiful trouble. But how do
Beautiful
you?
Trouble, that's the name of the book, of the toolkit, but it sounds good. Yeah.
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 But how do you think one can build a resilient social supply chain, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, one thing is, okay, it could be something like portfolio theory. So you have like, let's say, could be like various friends from various like sides of life, let's say different sectors, they work in different sectors, but they share your opinions, so they're like aligned, like a highly aligned community. Meaning, like, let's say, it's also like you can actually see what periodicals they subscribe to, or what they share regularly, or let's say if they are pro crypto or not, or something like this. You
Their
can have
values
like
and
this.
beliefs. Yeah.
Yeah, you can even have like these scissor statements, which is like the term by Scott Alexander, but the Balaji uses it as well. And you can just like see, like, are they okay? It's just very simple, like Bitcoin good or Bitcoin bad? Is Bitcoin good or bad? And okay, this might sound like a bit exclusionary, but like if it's because there are like good types of diversity and bad types of diversity, and diversity is good when you have like lots of let's say aligned people, but from different walks of life, different countries, different ethnicities. I mean, it's all good. But they need to share some common beliefs, but if you are like you don't want to invite into your house or into your dinner or something, like people who are like totally have share totally opposite views, and they will be just like arguing with you, or they will be just like trying to take your place. And but as you said, like, definitely, I think there's a very good point to build your skill set, and actually to look for and to build your skill set in areas that are not so how to say, there is not so much competition for those spots, meaning like the talent is hard to find, let's say in coding, or some certain types of programmers or something like that. It's actually there are not enough programmers, so it's like lucrative. But let's say in music industry or in like entertainment or something, there is like super high competition. It's like the biggest, like let's say it's like 10,000 people trying to be the number one or something like that. And actually you find a lot of these cancellation attempts and this kind of like a woke behavior, especially in this kind of like show business or something, where the competition for attention and the competition for this position is really intense, you know, like let's say within some corporations and some like especially some lucrative kind of positions, but a single one, if you are like a plumber or if you are a coder or if you are like, you know, hardworking, you know, usually there is not enough you know, something like people are not fighting over these positions, but actually they're quite lucrative, like good, valuable, good money, even like various like blue collar jobs can be like good in this way. And it's maybe good to have like what also Alexander Barth talks about, like major archetype and minor archetype, meaning like you know, something like a major subject and minor subject. So let's say we know a friend, you have a friend of yours who is like, I think at least before he was also a plumber and also a coder, which is an interesting combination, you know, like
Yeah.
and you know, but it's like, but the plumbers, at least in the US, they are like really high earning people, and yeah, and coder is another example. Yeah, so you can have some, it's just an example, but you can
Yeah.
have like jobs like that. So it's also kind of something like I'm thinking about it, like I should learn to code, like I am trying, you know, but I need to get much serious after 10 years of just like promising myself to get into it seriously. Still haven't happened, you know. Writing will not do it, you know, like for me, you know. So I need to, yeah, no, but okay, like I have a job now, of course, but it's, you know, you never know.
Yeah, it's true. That's very true, Jakob. I think it's important also to surround yourself with individuals who have similar values and beliefs and who support you in difficult times. But also Balaji described himself as a polytheist, polystatist and polynomist. Can you explain what these terms mean and how they can be applied
Yeah,
to
yeah.
ideologies in noosphere?
Right. Okay. I mean, he is like the polytheist. He means like he believes in that many religions should coexist. You know, so it's like he uses this term in this kind of, and then he's also like polycoin or polynumist, meaning like he believes in many coins. You know, it's like not just Bitcoin, but it can be others. You know, like Ethereum, Solana, and others. You know, just a little plug for Solana here. But
Yeah.
yeah, but but it could, but with the polystatist, he means it's not just the America first or something, or India first, or I don't know, Singapore first, but it's just like many countries can coexist and they're important. It's just so, because like a nationalist, you can be like, or patriotic. Sometimes people are like they're like monotheist in a way, like they just believe in their own religion, but like they don't think that the other religions are worthy, or let's say they just believe in their country, but they don't think well about the other countries. They, you know, they don't like them, or just consider them, I don't know, less important or something. And the same about, you know, Bitcoin maximalists, like they believe just in Bitcoin and other coins are shit coins, you know.
Yeah.
So but it's good to have like this poly, you know, like also Balaji is like has a Indian descent, and there is like a lot of these like polytheism and this kind of like many cultures coexist. And actually, but okay, it's also like in Kenya you have many cultures coexisting, so it's like yeah, and Slovakia as well, but I think we are still to learn to tolerate other opinions and other tribes, yeah, mimetic tribes.
Jakub, that's an interesting perspective. I think it's important to have an open mind and heart, and be able to pick the golden nuggets of wisdom from various mimetic tribes.
Yeah,
Balaji
yeah,
also,
that's yeah. Okay, sorry, go on. Sorry. Yeah, that's
Balaji.
this. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, you can just finish what you want to say.
No. Sorry, I just like remember that I forgot to say like or to talk about these golden
Nuggets.
nuggets of wisdom, that you can like basically, yeah, you don't need to buy like wholesale like some ideology or something like uh, but you can like just take like some mental model or something. Like imagine, like for example, you don't need to agree with Balaji on many things, but for example, you can take his his book, like the network state, and just get inspired, let's say, by this like one commandment, like this moral innovation, or let's say with this model of starting from startup societies to network unions to network archipelagos, and how to build the network state like gradually bottom up, and how to get like more kind of recognized, more to how to achieve traction. So you can use just like one concept. You don't need to like buy, let's say, other beliefs or other opinions or something. And that's like how to picking or prospecting for gold, or picking the golden nuggets or something like that. So that's just sorry, I forgot to add it before, but I didn't want to interrupt you. Please go on.
That's a nice point. Well, I just wanted to ask, Balaj also mentions that one of the few asymmetric weapons we have is rational argumentation. How do you think rational argumentation can be used to end social war, or social war on social media?
Yeah, so that's the quote or the point by Scott Alexander, but also Balaji mentions him, like for example these so-called Caesar statements that we talked about. Like it's also a concept by Scott Alexander. But basically, the what does it mean that the rational argumentation is like the one of the few, or maybe the only symmetrical or asymmetric weapon that we have, meaning like you know, if you, let's say, you have something like this beautiful trouble toolbox, like for activists, and you take some tool and it's used, let's say, by progressives, and it can be like reverse engineered or used any tactic, let's say this spectrum of allies or various kind of stunts, or let's say some cancellation tactics or something that can be used by the other side. So it can be like reverse engineered and used by the other side. And let's say if there is something like shadow banning on Twitter by, let's say, one administration and one ideological tribe, it can be used by other ideological tribe. And like any kind of like a weapon that is developed in this like social war, let's say some ideological weapon and some tactic, can be reverse engineered. So, you know, but like what is asymmetric is like this rational argumentation, because it's like you know, it's like if you are making more sense and if your arguments are like more predictive, or you are providing better facts and or better predictions, and people kind of recognize it, you know, over time. It's like you can't cheat truth, or for a long time, you know, you can't like trick many people for many times. So like if you have just like some kind of tactic, like I don't know, let's say some tactic in this in this social war, many tactics can be like reverse engineered, and but like the asymmetrical weapon in this and so they are symmetrical, meaning like if you do one thing, the other side can do the same thing, you know, like it just and you just escalate. But if you like provide good information and good facts and good like predictions or narratives, and it's like rational argumentation, you know, it kind of parses. That's like an asymmetric weapon, how you can win in this social war, you know. Yeah, and also like to provide like narratives that are like generative and regenerative for our global commons, meaning like our noosphere, like our geosphere, biosphere, you know. It shouldn't be just like fighting over short-term victories of like whose stories should win, but it should be like providing some narratives or better stories that help us to regenerate our planet and our humanity. So something like that. Yeah, that's important. Yeah.
Wow, that's a great perspective. Jakub, thank you for joining me again today. It was a great having a conversation with you.
Thank you, Duke. Good to see you, and hope to see you soon.
Hope to see you soon too. Well, that brings us to the end of this episode. If you enjoyed listening to Mtambo's Desk podcast, don't forget to subscribe, give this episode a thumbs up, and be sure to come back next week for another episode. Until then, this is Duke Mtambo, and don't forget to do good always.